saying.
Yeah, we're on. What were we talking about? We had a bit of technical difficulties, so we're going for take 2 of the podcast. And we were talking about Nate really wanting a coffee machine, right?
Yeah.
And I told him that he.
No, I was talking about the fact that I wanted someone to buy me a coffee machine, specifically.
Because it's a present you don't get yourself, like socks.
There are those things in life that we don't want to buy for ourselves, and one of those things for me is a coffee machine and a microwave. I don't have a microwave.
And socks.
I'm not saying that anyone should buy me. That is actually illegal. I'm not actually allowed to ask you to buy me anything. Just for the listeners out there.
I'll put Nate's address in the comments and the description. Welcome to Long Live Podcast. I am James Reardon Waters, your host, and I am joined tonight, Friday Conversations with Nate, episode 2, podcast episode 6, Nate Boddington. Thanks for being with us today. We are discussing a very interesting topic for me, something I'm very passionate about, create your own culture, where I will be addressing a few things that Nate's listed in his description, in a little notepad document on his computer, but we'll make the conversation just, see what happens with the conversation. So I'll address what I said before we had technical difficulties. We are, to a certain extent, and I know you don't quite agree, we're to a certain extent very passive consumers, and we've never been in an age where, we've never been in a time in history where we have so much freedom to both consume whatever we like and also to create whatever we like. We are prosumers now. We are consumers and we are also producers. And I'll briefly address what I addressed before we had technical difficulties. I hear so many people complain. I mean, not complain, but like they say, "Oh, there's not enough going on. There's not enough going on." And I think that they definitely have the capabilities to make something that they choose happen. So if you want to put a DJ event on, do a DJ event. If you want to do that, do that. If you want to get some bands that you like and start an event, do it. And I know you don't quite agree, but I think there's absolutely no harm in trying and seeing what happens, and you could end up doing something great. And I think people aren't even. I don't think it's that people aren't able to do it. I think people aren't aware of how simple it is to just, if you want to put an event on, just message that band and be like, I want you to play at a show tonight. So I want to know let's kick things off. I want to know your thoughts.
I think like 90% of the battles in life are in our own heads, and I think a lot of people overthink things like this to a great degree. Like finding a passion or just something to do in everyday life, or starting a trend isn't as difficult as people think. But unfortunately, I think that people do overthink these things, and I think that's why people never do anything with their lives, or just or they get bored and they don't know what to do where they live, especially in towns like Folkestone where there isn't like a whole lot going on. So in a place like Folkestone, you've really got to make the most of where you live and the places that you can go to, and like you said, maybe try and create a new trend or a new place for people to go, or maybe a new club night or whatever. But like, I don't think it's that easy for a lot of people. I think like we're creative types, we make music and we make podcasts, but like I don't think everybody has the drive to do something like that. And I think like a lot of people just want to consume things that are available to them. Like, I think that's why 90% of the time when you meet someone, they're probably into pop music because it's readily available. It's easy to find. Like you're going to hear it wherever you go and every shop you go to. So like, those people, some people don't want to go out of their way to find things to consume. They just want to have an easy life, But other people who have this dying need to find something, or they have a drive to have more, I think you should know that there is more available to you than you think, and if you want something to happen, you can make it happen. Sure.
Yeah, right. I mean, not to alienate our American or non-local, because we live fairly close in comparison to the whole world. But I do disagree that Folkestone is got nothing to do, because like I think you're quite lucky in the fact that you live near Brighton, which is one of the most booming places in the country in a certain way. You know, you got Bristol.
Can I just say that there's not that much more to do in Brighton?
Yeah. Right.
Right. This is a harsh truth. It's a harsh reality, but like a lot of the time, like if you don't have money, then there's not a whole lot to do really. Like unless you make the most of where you are. I mean, like you can get 5 friends to come around and play, Super Smash Brothers with you, and that won't cost you a penny, and you can do that anywhere. And you can say that there's nothing to do in Folkestone, but there's like bars and there's everything that you can do in Brighton. It's just a slightly less. It's not quite as good. It's not quite It doesn't have the same quality.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't say there's more to do in Brighton. It's just a bigger place.
Yeah.
Like instead of having one bar to play gigs at, there's like 6 or 7.
Yeah. I mean,
there's just an abundance of things to do, I guess, in Brighton. But there's the same things you can do the same stuff in Folkestone. It's just not. You don't have as many options of those things. Like picking a favorite bar will take you 10 minutes in Folkestone because there isn't really like that many in the main town. Whereas Brighton, you kind of have to. It'll probably take you about a week to sort of come to a comfortable conclusion of where you want to go regularly. So
I mean, you have to have a certain knowledge of what actually goes on in your community in order to do it. But I think the reason I'm titling this Create Your Own Culture is because I've noticed an influx of people who, I have a lot of creative friends perhaps, and that might be abnormal for the average person, but I've just noticed, and I believe our audience is going to be a little bit more oriented towards the creativity and towards the more prosumer, because they're going out of their way to find local podcasts, to find podcasts that their friends are making. And I think people have the incentive and the ability to make something happen that isn't happening, as opposed to, for example, and I agree that there's a lot to do in Brighton, but, I believe there is a lacking. I mean, everyone's going to find a certain lacking in something to do that appeals to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think what people are missing, for example, I've got a friend who's doing a master's in creative writing, and we can talk about education later or now if you like. But she writes really great short stories at the moment. She's writing, and I want to get her on the podcast. But I want to sort of say to her, this is your intellectual property. It's not the university's. I think you should be willing to self-publish and do in my opinion, do like a Kickstart to for people to pre-order the book and create your own culture like that. And I think my main point of address is that people are lacking the ability to fail. I think you should be ready to fail, because if you don't fail, you haven't tried. And that's kind of a little thing that I live by. I mean, you're doing a similar thing with you got a post-rock band going. You sound really good. You're going to get a label, and I'm really glad that you have that drive. And I have a lot of friends that they want to do psychedelic rock nights. They want to turn Folkestone's weeded areas into gardens. You've got people. You've got teenagers that have nothing to do besides smoke weed at the Lees, and why not open up I don't know, make a I'm not sure what the logistics are, but make your own youth hub. People lack, in my opinion, you might disagree, people just lack that. Just do it. That Shia LaBeouf video. Do it. That's what I think.
The thing is, I feel like that passion comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that passion, that's fine. You don't have to be like a big creative type, but at the same time, I think you can't really complain that you don't have anything to do if you're not willing to try things.
Experiment, exactly.
You have to explore and try things and try and Like a lot of people, you know, are jealous of people who have. This is a thing that really bothers me. People like say to me all the time that I'm like naturally gifted at what I do, and I don't actually believe in this thing called natural gifts.
No.
Because what a lot of people don't know is that it took me way more longer than the average person to become good at what I do. It took me way longer. And I've been playing for like 15 years, and I think I should be way better than I am for like the amount of time that I've been playing. I put in a lot of work, and there was a lot of passion in my progression as a musician. And then to have someone come along and say, "Oh, well, you're just naturally gifted," it's like, no, I put in all this work, and like if you do the same, you can be where I am in 15 years. You know, probably less time.
Probably less time. I mean, it is interesting. I mean, like, what was I going to say? I was going to say that, like, I mean, it's not just skilled at, like, you know, how fast you can play guitar, but it's also skilled in interacting with other musicians, what it's like to jam with musicians, what it's like to record, what it's like to get on with producers, what it's like to treat your music as a business, what it's like to play gigs, what it's like to manage a band. And this all comes with simply doing it. Just doing it, you know.
Just
And
try something.
just try exactly. And people think that it has to be perfect. Our guitarist for our band has a great philosophy where he, you know, I believe I'm repeating myself on another podcast, but he says that everyone wants to be the new Instagram sensation. And like, what happened to just playing in a garage? What happened to, like, you know, just messing around and seeing what happened, doing a house show with 10 people and a few beers or whatever, you know, if that's your thing. But like,
You know what? Those are the bands. Like the bands that do that are the bands that make it.
yeah. It's
You
actually
hear
like,
you hear it all the time. Like I don't really want to like do shout outs on this video, so I'm not going to. But like I don't know. There's a band that I really look up to, and they made all of their success just by playing as many shows as they possibly could in
yeah,
the stupidest places in the world, like
yeah,
in someone's basement, you know.
yeah,
And
right,
like,
exactly,
and
right,
it's just playing. If that's what you want to do,
yeah,
then do it. Like you can. You've just got to find people who want to. And the thing is, if you really, really want to do it, just badger people
yeah.
constantly.
I mean, that's I have a regular, I have one regular piano student at the moment. You know, like, so yeah, so like I'm doing, I mean, I'm getting by on other things as well, but um, but the thing is that you know, the way I make sure he comes is that I badger him, and he doesn't mind because he's the one that's like he wants to do it, but he just, you know, he just, you know, forgets and whatever. And like, you know, the way I actually became a magician, I did magic for the King's Head and Hyde for a few months, and the way I did that was, you know, I wasn't making any money out of it, but you do that, you do the extra work anyway. You know, if you were to call it work, you say, you know, I went to every single bar in Hyde and said, I want to do magic here. I'll give you a reasonable price. I went to like 15 places, and then two of them said yes. I mean, one of them said maybe, and then the other one said, uh, "All right, let's see how good you are." And then I did some tricks, and they liked me, so they kept me on for a few months. I think they went
Jimmy is very good. Jimmy is very like remarkably good at magic. It's actually scary. He's very good.
I had a girl. I was out last night. I actually drank last night, which I'm not gonna make a habit of. But some girl was like, you know, I really just like don't give a shit about magic as much as I used to. And this girl was like, you really need to pursue that. You really need to pursue that. And I was like, yeah, but my heart isn't in it anymore. I want to try something new. And like, I think it's important to, you know, and it's important to, you like see something through to the end, obviously. But if you know, if you're doing something that you hate, why do it? And I want to, if you don't mind me sort of putting the conversation on, I want to talk about jobs because we were talking about on the phone this morning.
It doesn't necessarily have to be jobs. I mean, I used to be in this band. I guess it's kind of like still of a thing, but it's very up in the air about what's actually going on with it. We haven't rehearsed in like months and months and months. And like when I started it, it was like this passion project, and I'd just gotten out of like one of the worst breakups of my life, and I wrote all these like sad songs, and all I wanted to do was to release like an album and just sort of remember this part of my life for some reason. I don't know why, but it was really important to me. And I got other people involved, and it just became this thing that I just, it wasn't part of my vision. It was just wasn't what I wanted to do. And I think that it's really important to remember that when you go into any kind of passion where you're going to be relying on other people, that you are really frank with people about what you want to get out of it from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because it won't be your project by the end of it. It will be, a shared project.
Yeah.
And like if you really want to, if you're someone like me who sort of like finds it a little bit harder to work with people, then I think it's really important to remember that you're probably going to have to rely on other people at some point in what you do.
Absolutely. And I mean, even if that's some, yeah, exactly. When you're doing anything, a lot of it comes down from, your what who you work with, and you got to find good people to work with. You got to find people that you can really rely on. That's very important. I mean, like and it's not easy to find those people, but
especially in places like Folkestone.
Yeah,
but there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with being in bands with people who live everywhere. I mean, I used to be in a band called the Tomcats, and I mean, like, I think we all lived in different places. Like, I don't think any of us lived in the same place.
Yeah, but if it's your dream to like be in a band and do shows, I mean, your dreams will change as you change. But if that's your dream at the time, you need to do it. You need you need to do it, and it's very important.
I wish I moved years ago, because I remember being stuck in this boat where I was like, well, I really like emo, and I want to start a band, and I want to be successful. And I think if I'd started like 5 years ago, I'd probably be there by now. I'd probably at least be in like, a band that knows what they're doing. But instead, I left it really late. I'm 25, and I'm like, in the weirdest, like, it's the weirdest thing, because I feel like I'm starting to grow up now, and I'm starting to think, well, actually, I don't even know if I really want to be like a touring musician, 200 days a year. I don't want to do that. That sounds miserable. I like having a place to, and I kind of feel that maybe if I'd, considered it at an earlier age, I probably would be doing that, and I'd probably be happy doing that. But
I mean, like, yeah, it's a bit like, you just think like, I want to do this now, and
do it now.
And if I don't, now, exactly, and if I don't like it, but now I know I don't like it because I've tried it. Now I know that being a touring musician is not what I want, then I won't do it. And I mean, like, I think the most used creative ability is music, and it makes me really happy when musicians who are just playing some songs and they're not perfect and they're not very good, they do an open mic night and I see them play, and I'm like, nice, that's something to do on a Wednesday. I get to go out, Jam Jar shout out are doing Tuesday jam nights. I didn't know that happened, and so I'm gonna go down there and get like a hot hour and start playing.
See, this is one of the things that I really love about music, and I'm sure it's the same with other art forms. I mean, I have no experience when it comes to like art, so I don't know how people, like, I just don't know how that world works. But with music, like, I love the idea that anyone, it doesn't matter who you are, you can pick up a guitar, you can learn 4 chords, and you can sing some songs. Anyone can do it, literally anyone. And people do it. People do, and you know what? Quite a lot of musicians that I would say, aren't particularly, don't have beautiful singing voices, or write the songs that make billions of dollars, have successful careers. Like the front bottoms are, I would say, are like one of those bands that like write incredibly good songs, but they have no musical skill whatsoever. Like they can't. The guy can't sing. They don't look like much. They're not like a boy band, but despite all the odds stacked against them, they made it because they're just 4 guys having fun and making music and just doing what they enjoy. And if they can do it, then so can anyone else in whatever hobby that they decide they want to do. Like a lot of. I mean, and this is a horrible thing, but a lot of like, I think there's a lot of pressure on women in the music industry, and it does get me down. you know, there's less like women in music now, I think, than ever before. And a lot of girls feel like there's like this pressure to be like beautiful and like, sorry for the lack of a better term, like sexy to be a successful singer, and that's what sells and whatnot. And then, you know, I don't know how long ago it was, but like fucking Susan Boyle walks up on stage. She, you know, she doesn't look like much. She's a little bit of an oddity, and everyone's like, "Who is this woman?" And she gets up on stage, and everyone's like, "What? Who is this woman? She's going to be awful." And then, you know, the next thing you know, she's got this incredible voice, and everyone just goes crazy. You know, and like,
and she never would have like, you know, not that I endorse those sorts of shows because I really don't. I think
no, I don't either.
I think they're fucking awful,
but I do think she's a positive role model, and I do really, and I really admire her. I think she's awesome, and
she did,
especially at her age as well. She was quite old when she was on the competition, so yeah.
She's in her 60s, I believe, wasn't she?
She's and I just think like what I'm getting at here. There is a point to what I'm saying. No matter what your setbacks are, doesn't matter who you are. You know, you can be successful in anything that you try to do, but that's the point. You have to try. You can't just think about it. Thinking about it's not going to get you anywhere. Like if you want to learn how to do something, then you got to get into it at some point. Don't let it be a dream. Just do it.
I mean, I think there's a limit to what you can do. Like, I can't be an NBA basketball player. You know, that's something I want to clarify.
Well, yeah, you don't live in America, so
I don't have the height. I don't have the height for it either. Although there was that one guy who was on Space Jam who was a short guy, but he was really good at basketball. But that's besides the point. I think it literally is, as you know, it's important. The thing about Susan Boyle is that she just you know she just tried and it's such an important. So it's so obvious when you actually say it like that, but like people are just like, you know. I mean, I want us to say in this podcast, you know, the problem with, you know, there's a big, you know, Folkestone is a music town now. Not to alienate people that aren't Folkestone, but Folkestone's a music town now, and I think that it's such. I think it's such a shame that Folkestone's been labelled as a music town in the context that it has been, because there are 30 bars in Folkestone. I've counted them, and 2 of them, maybe 3, are actual music venues. And you get like maybe 2 music nights going on a Friday, maybe 1 on a Saturday, maybe 1 on a Wednesday. And I'm just, you know, I mean, think about Brighton. There's probably like 5 to 10 going on. So what? So, and you get places that could become venues, and they just don't. And it's not that there isn't a market for music. You see people go out all the time. I mean, you know, I was saying earlier, like, you know, you get these people that just like, you know, they say they want to hear live music, but they won't pay £3 entry to hear a couple of people play, and they'd rather, you know, pay £12 on 2 pitches at Spoons. And but the thing is that fuck them. But like, there is a definite there's a definite market for music. I mean, if folks in the music town, there's loads of people, and they always complain about nothing to do. And I want to say something about, you know, I was talking to my friend Will on Saturday last week, and this time last week, and he said, "Oh man, the problem with things happening is that you need the corporations to do everything." And I was like, "That's a load of bollocks. Do you know what corporations are? They're people sitting in an office doing exactly what you would be doing if you didn't just do the thing that you were doing anyway. If folks in Music Town Corporation made an event, it was made from people sitting in an office going, okay, I want to do a Pride-themed Battle of the Bands night. So I'm going to message some bands. I'm going to get a poster maker. These are all things that someone else could do in their room, and they could do it exactly how they want it, and they have no compromising of their vision. You know, it's important. You know, it's like, you know, you can obviously just do. You know, you can obviously just create the. You know, do it yourself rather than. I just think the whole you need the corporations to do it is such a put down. Because
how do you see? I find that really stupid, because how do you think these corporations became corporations in the first place? Like everything is built off someone's idea, and like that person, who runs that corporation had the idea to start the corporation in the first place, and they didn't have a corporation to create that corporation.
Exactly.
They just created a corporation.
Exactly.
So like, that I think that's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, I agree. I want to talk about oh, sorry about that.
I'm just gonna quickly shut my door. One sec.
That's all right. That's all right.
I'm back.
All right. Just gotta let someone know I'm doing a podcast. So I want to talk about jobs, and we were talking earlier about that you gotta make money somehow, and the vast majority of people think that the only two jobs that exist to them are retail or call center work. And fair enough if you want to do those sorts of things, and if you're good at them, then fair enough. But you hear the vast majority of people, and they do retail or call center work. And I said, I said to you, and I don't know, I don't want to be preachy, but I do agree on this. I think, why not sit on Indeed for 6 days, 7 days, doing nothing all day but looking through jobs and only applying for the ones that seem interesting to you? If you go for a week, I mean, obviously there are thousands of jobs going out there. You're not going to see every single one. So, and obviously some stuff people do out there is interesting. So why are you not taking the initiative to simply spend a week on Indeed, maybe a day, maybe you'll find, I mean, I went on Indeed for 2 hours, maybe less, and I found a job that I liked. I mean, it wasn't even that long. It was like 10 minutes, I think. I'm really, but like, it could have taken me 2 hours. But
are you working there though?
I'm not working there. I'm not working there because I applied for a audio typist job, a transcriber from audio to text, and then I learned that I need experience to, years experience in the business world to sort of transcribing in order to actually apply for that kind of job. But I knew, but the thing is that I didn't spend a week on Indeed. I spent 10 minutes on Indeed, and I didn't.
See, I think this is the problem, and I think this is where I start to sort of. I don't disagree with you. I think that it's a lot more difficult than you're implying, because I think for most people, their first job is going to be a retail job. Yeah. They're going to work in a shop, or they're going to work in a call center. I can't think of anyone I know from Folkestone that hasn't worked at Saga at some point.
Yeah, no,
but the thing is, like, with most jobs, like most normal jobs, like most jobs that you would go to a shop and you'd see a friend working there, like most of those jobs require experience as well, and it can be quite lucky to get a job with no experience. And I think trying to find a job in a niche area that you have no experience in, that's even harder. It's even harder to find a job like that. It can be even more difficult, and they want experience. And how are you supposed to have experience in a job that you didn't even know existed 5 minutes ago?
Yeah, but but again, this comes back to the trying thing. I mean, like, if you're a musician, if you wanted to work in a studio, why not message every single studio in Brighton and say you want to do intern work and see what happens? Like, I mean, like, again, it comes down to trying. I mean, like, and the other thing I want to say.
Yeah, but you're saying jobs on Indeed. I'm not talking about like things like that. I could do that if I wanted to. I think I probably could find a studio to work in, or find someone to tutor me, or do like an internship. I could probably source something like that in a few weeks if I really wanted to.
Good.
I strongly believe that.
I'm glad we agree. Yeah.
That's not what's on Indeed. You're saying that if you spent like a day, like a week on Indeed, that you could potentially find a job that you want to do. But the problem is that a lot of these people that are put these ads on Indeed are looking for a specific type of person, and they have their own set of prejudices in their mind for the kinds of people that they want to employ. And the vast majority of employers don't want to employ young people. They want, people between like the ages of 30 and 40 with lots and lots of experience in what they do. And I'm not saying that it's impossible to get these kinds of jobs. I'm just saying that these jobs are tailored for people who have experience. And I think that's wrong. I don't understand how anyone is supposed to make their way in this world if, every job requires experience to a job that, you've never even heard of. And where do you get this experience from? If no one will hire you in the first place to do a job, how are you supposed to get the experience?
I think I'm glad that we agree that you could get that intern job at a studio if you wanted to. And I think that's very important. But I think
I do want to say though that I have contacts. Yes. I have people that I could reach out to.
Yeah.
I don't think that everybody has that.
No.
The vast majority of people don't have that sort of.
Yes, but the thing is that I want to pose this. I want to say, what choice do you have? Because it's either that, it's either you got to work to get the contacts, and then you got to work to get that intern, and then you got to start, then you eventually start, making good money or whatever. Or you look on Indeed for a week to just find something that maybe interests you, and you might get if you put yourself up for the challenge. And the other option is to just blindly accept the retail job and just get stuck there.
I don't think people blindly accept retail jobs. I think a lot of the time, at least from my experience, that when I've talked to people, I think a lot of the time when people need money, they just apply everywhere. They just apply to literally every place that they can find and see, and hope that they get a few interviews, and out of those few interviews, they get one of the jobs, and then they are making some money, because it is so hard to find a job these days. It is really difficult unless you've got experience. I don't think it's as easy as just logging onto Indeed and think oh, this person needs a studio engineer and applying for a job there. I just don't think it's that easy.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying that if what you really crave is not to get a normal job, then you have a duty to yourself to put in the work to find. But you got to. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's better. I'm saying it's better.
I think that works. I think that works if you have some kind of work experience in some other kind of job, just to sort of show that you have initiative in some way, or maybe you have a college qualification or a university degree or whatever. But for your everyday person, I would say you probably need to have some kind of experience before applying for a job like that anyway. But if you've already worked, say you're not like that, say you've had a few jobs before and you're I am sick of this shit, I don't want to work in Savers for the rest of my life, or wherever it is that you're working, you've hit a roadblock and you're I'm so unhappy doing this, then by all means, spend a week, if you have the time, to look at Indeed and try and find a job that you really enjoy. But all I'm trying to do is sort of entertain the idea that not everybody has, the means to do so. And I don't think it is as simple as just, applying, because a lot of the time applying doesn't get you a job. Most of the time it's, knowing someone that works somewhere, or there's a lot more ways to get a job than just applying, Yeah.
We had a bit of a poor connection there, just to let you know. So I'm sorry for the lag. And if we disconnect, we can just come back on and just resume the conversation.
I didn't have any lag on my end, so
I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't speaking there, but yeah. So yeah, if we do lose the connection, we can just, we can just resume where we started, because we are half an hour in now, and the connection's not going to get any better anytime soon. Anyway, so I do think it depends on the person, and of course, I am one of those people that really never wanted something ordinary to do. And again, I think I'm speaking to those more creatively inclined. I want to do this, and I wish I had the time to write. I wish I had the time to make music. I wish I had the time to do this if I didn't have this job that I was doing all the time. And I think that's the crux.
I do find it incredibly sad. I have a friend, and I'm not naming any names. I'm not saying any names, but I do know someone who works all the time, and has no time to do anything that they enjoy in life, and it's really hard for me to not I mean, I'm autistic, so I have a really strange way of looking at the world. But we are here to live primarily. Like I feel like our whole purpose of being here is to live. And if you've got like I don't know 60 years left on this planet, why spend them doing all this stuff that you don't want to do? I get that some people have to work, but the point I'm trying to make is he doesn't. He doesn't need to work that much. He has enough money. He gets a uni loan. He gets the maximum amount. I don't understand why he's working that much.
This is a good segue into
And like
I don't.
and what I just think it's sad. I just think it's sad that people get themselves into these situations where they feel like if they're not making money, then they're not being productive. And I don't think that that's a very good way of looking at life. I think your value of life is measured by your relationships with people and, you know, the little things in life that put a smile on your face. I don't think it's measured by how much money you make. Yeah, what's money?
People think they, yeah.
Money's not worth anything in that regard to your happiness. So you know, you've got all this money and you can get things that you like. Great, awesome, wonderful. But are you actually enjoying your life? You know?
Yeah, exactly. People think they need way more money than they actually do. I don't make much money at all, and as a result, I have not much spending power, which obviously, you know, isn't great to keep businesses going. But whatever the fuck that means. But like, people think, you know, I mean, I have friends who make 3 times as much as me, and they seem to not have much money either, because they're always like, you know, they're browsing through, you know, they're going shopping all the time. They're getting new clothes they don't need. They're buying new records they don't need. They're buying new gadgets they don't need. They're making, you know, they spend a lot of time working just to get the best phone. And I saw someone who posted like, you know, oh, I lost my phone. Guess I have to spend 500 quid to get another one. And I was like, don't do that. You don't need that phone. He was like, oh no, I like the phone.
Well, just take care of the one you have.
Take care of the one you have. Yeah, like I broke my phone, therefore I'm gonna. I mean, I spent 120 on this, and it's not the best phone. It's not. It's a few years behind, but it's good enough. But the point is that, you know, you've got this on the one hand, you've got this constant wanting to spend money because you think, you know, because you get used to how much money you have, and then the other one, you don't have any time to pursue what you want to do. And I think everyone does have a certain passion, even if it's not creative or something that can be financially viable, even if it's just walking in nature or bird watching or whatever. But like, do that, and if you want to share that experience with other people, you know, get a bird watching session, go for a walk in nature, you know, organize a pic. I don't know. I'm a bit of a socialite, so I you know, I like doing things. I'm an extrovert. I like doing things with other people. I like talking to other people, you know. But you know, if you don't like doing that, you know, just make time for yourself. You don't need to. You don't need this money. And as we're going back to the main topic of hand, create your own culture. If you want to do something and you haven't got enough time because you're doing a job, just work less hours, you know, and, you know, work less hours. I mean, it's not simple. And I know it's not as simple as just saying, oh, I'm working less hours now. But if you really want to do that, your life, and you don't, your life is going to pass you by, and you're going to end up, you know, regretting the decisions you made about not doing it. I mean, I really admire you for doing university, because it's not, you know, because it's getting more conventional now, but it's not like that big conventional, you know, I work at retail because it pays the bills. And it's like, well, you know, even if you, you know, just, you know, it's as simple as like, you know, don't buy as much takeaway. Don't, you know, buy the slightly cheaper bread than the more expensive bread, you know, just to pursue what you care about. Am I right, or am I wrong?
Yeah, you are right. You're right. I think a lot of people think that, I don't know, this is a weird topic, because I think that convenience rules a lot of people's lives. I think that doing all your shopping in one supermarket and putting it all in the boot of your car that you're spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds on is a convenient way to live. But you can live a much cheaper lifestyle by shopping at multiple supermarkets and taking the bus. or like walking. I know that's not available to everyone because some people live in rural areas that don't have supermarkets, but like for your everyday person that lives like in town, like you live pretty close to town, I highly doubt that you buy all of your groceries in one place because it's
And
like and I mean it's not just groceries. I mean like people, oh, man, I think people like convenience,
yeah,
I do think it takes control of us. I mean, things like veganism. Like I meet a lot of people who say they want to go vegan, but they're like, "Oh, I'll probably never do it because it's so inconvenient."
yeah,
It's like, well, that's a bit sad, isn't it? That you're willing to put convenience ahead of your own morals,
yeah, right,
and who
right.
you are as a person is literally being hijacked by convenience.
I would like at some point in the future, as a Friday conversation with Nate episode, I'd like Jack to come on, and I'd like to talk about the future of veganism. So we'll both talk to you. I think that'd be a
Yeah,
really
man.
interesting episode because we're all vegan. So and I'm gonna make it as little preachy as possible, as objective as possible,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
because I just want to discuss what the current is at the moment. What's going, what's going on with veganism. I'm noticing a
I'd
lot of.
really like to get some people on here who have opposing views on
Yeah,
veganism.
yeah.
If anyone sees this who wants to be a part of that, let us know because
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be
we would encourage, like, people that are not only meat eaters but also people who have beliefs on why they should eat meat, because that would be really interesting.
mm.
That would be very interesting. I'm just looking at my notes to see. It's not loading on my computer
Just
because it's.
know I'm quite versed when it comes to veganism, so
Yeah,
I'm
so
I'm
is
quite
Jack. I mean, I'm probably the
I'm
least.
quite I'm pretty hard to argue with, I think.
Yeah. I'm probably the least versed, actually. Just because I don't know. I've chosen to just do this, and like that's it. Anyway, we were talking. Yeah, so we were talking about jobs, and and how and the excess of money, and how people want more money and less time. But I want to discuss, because we're hitting the 45-minute mark now. I would like to discuss um, education, if you'd like,
Yeah.
because we wanted to talk about education, and I've been out of education for a year now. I've been getting by on doing the projects that I care about, and I mean, you're still in education at the moment, and we were having a very interesting discussion about what it means, what education is, these days, has always been. So yeah, take it away. I mean, like, just give me your initial thoughts on what's going through your head about that whole thing.
Well, I mean, I'm in a creative uh, field. I don't know what it's like for people in bachelors of science, but I'm doing a bachelor of arts in guitar, believe it or not. And I do feel like there is an immense amount of pressure on me to be like the greats. I think this is the thing at the moment that really bothers me. Like your Jimi Hendrix, your Eric Claptons, and your Victor Wootons if you're a bass player, and they seem to be edging us all into the field of session work, and sort of us creative types are sort of being subdued, and they're sort of trying to reach out to all the people who just want to play guitar and just want to shred and want to be the next Jimi Hendrix or the next John Mayer. As amazing as John Mayer is, I just don't really have much interest in playing that kind of music, and it has completely alienated me as a student because I don't feel like I am getting what I need out of the course, which is to, have my creative ideas challenged. And I think that is university's greatest trick is telling you what you should know rather than giving you the option to study what you want and
You were
what you want to
talking.
know. I
You
think
were talking.
that's
Yeah.
sorry.
No,
Go, go.
no. It's good. We have a bit of lag, so I don't. So we have a bit of interference. You were talking about, like, how it's you're creative, because I did a sociology course, which is not really a science or an art. It's sort of a social science, which kind of goes in between the psychology and technology and everything. But you were talking about how you were sort of they were treating your degree, your creative degree, as a science. Is that right? They were sort of treating it as if it was like, you know, and the thing about art is that it's not a science, and it's about, you know, I mean, you know, we can talk about the, you know, what James suggested. You know, the thing about science, what's great about science is that it offers, you know, it offers an objective truth. But the good thing about art is that it offers a subjective truth. And with subjective, it means that there is no right way to do it. There's no logical way to do it. And
see, this is the thing. This is the thing that really bothers me about my university, is that I did so much research on music theory before my exams, trying to understand these certain areas, because I must admit, I'm not the best student in the world. I don't go to all my classes, and I do learn better from just looking up videos on YouTube. And I did quite a bit of research into voice leading, and all voice leading is just sort of decreasing the distance between certain notes so that you can move from one chord to the next without having massive jumps in between, you know, in between frets. You can do it all in one small area.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, I wanted to learn that. I thought it was really useful. And I found some videos on YouTube, and the way in which it works is quite subjective, right? That's what I'm getting at. It's quite a subjective thing, because everybody has a different comfortability level when it comes to switching chords. Some people find it more comfortable switching between certain chords. Let's just say that, right? Ergonomics are subjective. And in my exam, I had a question about voice leading, and they didn't give me the mark. And I just didn't understand why I didn't get the mark, because in my opinion, that was the most effective way to was to switch between those chords. I thought that was the most effective way to do it. And telling me that that's wrong, telling me that that's wrong is harmful. And I think that saying to someone, there is one way to do this, and it's our way, this is how you should do it, I think that's wrong. Because that's not creativity. That's enforcing that there is a singular way to do something. And you look at anything in music theory, like, yeah, it is kind of complicated, and there is specific things that you need to learn in order to understand it and to put to put two and two together. But the way you use it is entirely up to you, and it is subjective, the way you use it and the way you want to use it. And they're enforcing one way for me to do it, and that's why I hate doing it. That's why I don't like doing it, and it does alienate me a lot as a student, because if I feel this stress inside me to not want to do something, I can't do it, because I don't know what it is. I think maybe it might be my Asperger's or something, but like, no. It puts this big mental block in between me and the task, where I resent the task, and I don't want to do the task because I don't agree with the task. I think the task is morally wrong.
Even if you have Asperger's, it doesn't mean that your opinion's any less valid. You know, you're still a bloody person who's entitled to, entitled to perceive the world as you want. Now, in the end of my book, it's the last chapter of my book.
This is quite a segue, dude. We're getting a lot of lag. I can't hear you.
And I say that you're breaking up quite a lot.
Yeah,
I talk about revolutions, and what I'm saying in revolutions is that we are always changing the way that we do things. From jazz music to Einstein relativism in physics, to different mathematical models, to different art, to different ways of doing this. And no matter how many times we do this change, it's always shunned upon by the academics and the prestigious ones who have established. They say, oh, punk music, that's a good change. Now, 20 years later, I've thought about the influence it's had on music, but now, no more. Trap music, that's not real music. It's not clever or anything like that. And obviously, trap music is going to, you know, I don't listen to trap music that much, but obviously it's going to have a significant impact in the musical landscape. But we are never ready to embrace the new thing, you know.
I think it's incredibly arrogant. I think it's incredibly arrogant to suggest that a certain type of music isn't valid or isn't real. What is real music?
And obviously, you know, and it's always successful. Like, you know, you have Nirvana and grunge punk or whatever you want.
I want to find. I'm just going to find what the definition of music, because this is ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I mean, it is literally like, you know, whenever someone, and the ironic thing, it's not even like, it shouldn't even be embraced as just, you know, as valid as the rest of music, but it should be encouraged as almost more important from a certain perspective, because once you've actually changed the game, you're doing something new. You're playing in a different way. You know, punk music wasn't just good because it was punk. Punk changed rock music forever, completely, and it was never accepted by, you know, by the scholars or the conservatives, we may call it. And we're seeing exactly the same thing happen with mumble rap and trap. I'm not a fan of it personally, but that's because I haven't grown up with it. I think I just simply haven't had the had the sort of the open-mindedness to accept it. And I was so in danger of becoming this, oh, punk music was great, but let's stop here. You know, let's stop the natural progression music is obviously going in, because my opinions are more valid than everyone else's. And
see, I think it's incredibly arrogant and incredibly toxic, and I think it comes from this really negative place as well. I think it comes from a resentment, because you have all these classically trained musicians and all these people who are like really, really good at what they do, who scoff at people who don't want to take it that far. Some people don't want to be the best at music. Some people just want to pick up a guitar, learn 4 chords, and sing the songs they like. And what's wrong with that? Why is that wrong? I don't understand why we have these elitists
you're
that are like, oh, well, you're not becoming the best at what you do, so you're not valid.
It's so true.
That is so wrong.
Yeah,
and by the way, the definition of music is vocal or instrumental sounds, or both, combined in such a way as to produce beauty or form, harmony, and expression of emotion. Couples were dancing to the music.
Yeah. It's a nice definition, actually. I quite like that. It's
and
not like
that can be anything, in my opinion. I mean, like, you know, I like listening to birds, and I think that produces, you know, beauty of form and harmony, and like, you know, that stuff's not written down. They're not masters of. They're not music maestros.
Exactly. Well, maybe they are, but you could. I mean, I think they're just saying they want to fucking kill each other. I think that's what bird chirping actually is technically. But anyway, yeah, man, and you could release a field recording of birds and call it music, and you're gonna get people who disagree. I mean, one thing I talk about in the book, whatever, is like is the question of, you know, it's not a, you know, language is bullshit. You know, if you want to call it, you know, the only reason it should or shouldn't be called music is that it's useful to call it music outside of the definition. So the reason you call something a pie is because you've had pies before, and you know, and therefore calling it a pie. It's not actually, like, you know, it's not objectively what it is. And the same, you know, so and of course, you know, if you want to say birds are music to your ears, then there's nothing stopping you from doing that. That it's completely valid as long as it's useful.
See, the thing is, a lot of people would argue that, you know, just don't listen to those people, you know, because they're wrong or whatever. But I think the problem is that a lot of people feel discouraged by this kind of behavior and by this kind of like academic, mean-spirited way of looking at the world that, you know, shuns people who don't want to take what they do to this grand level. Yeah. Because some people do just want to have fun, and like most people that you meet aren't music maestros. They're not like, professional musicians. They're just some people who know a few chords, just want to play some songs they like with their friends who happens to know those songs as well. And that's fine.
And if you like that shit, fucking go and support people that do that,
Yeah.
It's very important because that's how you get a music scene. Everyone complains. I mean, this is something else I want to talk about, Everyone complains that the hardcore scene is dead, the emo scene is dead in my town, blah, blah, blah. But, not to completely put down people who say that, but like, but the thing is that like, if you want to make that scene, get people together and make the bloody scene. I don't want to segue too much because we are talking about, the definition of music. But I think it's good to mention that. It's good to mention that it's obviously still very important to.
It's true, but like I think a more important way of looking at that is that it's not profitable, and that's fine. That's fine that it's not profitable. You shouldn't be doing it because it's profitable. You should be doing it because you enjoy it. If you want to be in a hardcore band and you want to go on stage and play to people that don't like your music, who gives a shit? You're up there, you're enjoying yourself, you're having a good time. It doesn't matter what genre of music you play, or whether or not it's profitable. If you enjoy it, that should drive you. Yeah. And that's why you want to be in a band in the first place, because you want to do something that you enjoy. It's the same as anything. And I can't say I know that many hardcore bands in Brighton. I don't think it's that popular here, but they exist and they play gigs.
You've got to go to Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, Philly. You got to go to Philly and get some hardcore. I mean, they look like there's some great hardcore shows. But anyway, yeah, exactly. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything in your notes that we haven't gone over yet? We're hitting the hour mark, but I'll be happy to extend this further if there's anything we missed out.
We did just take a segue. What were we talking about before this?
You just mentioned about money. Things that have to be profitable. So I could maybe add something there. It doesn't have to be profitable. If it is profitable, then and you can help, and you can work one day less a week to do a gig, and you can just you can get by like that. Fucking do that, man. Just life's very short. And if it's not profitable and you enjoy it, who cares? I had Alex on a couple of days ago to talk about everything that we do is turning into a product, or more contemporarily, a content. And I realized this sort of hole that I was falling into, where it wasn't the process of the podcast that I enjoyed. It was the fact that I was producing content. Thanks, Jack. I was producing content, finalized content. That was the most important thing, and it wasn't the process of getting there. It wasn't the enjoyment I was making from the podcast. It wasn't even the enjoyment other people were making. It was that I made something that was solid and concrete, and that's the real danger, right? That's the real danger.
I think it's the thing is, like, if you look at like people who influence you, people who are astronomically successful, they've made enough money to support themselves for the rest of their lives. Let's use a really generic example, like PewDiePie. Yeah. Right? That guy is a multi-millionaire. He is always going to be a millionaire, even if he stops working now and never works again for the rest of his life. Why is he still making videos? Because he enjoys it, because he loves it. That's what he does. He likes making videos, and he still does it because he enjoys it. And that should be the thing that drives you, not the money. Because if you're just gonna work until you have the money to live and then do nothing with yourself, then what is the point in that? Yeah. Just do nothing with yourself now, if that's what you want to do. Yeah. At least have the decency to admit that that's what you want to do, instead of working really, really hard so that you have loads of money so that you can do nothing. Then just do nothing and just live within your means. Like I don't. Why put in all this effort so you can do nothing later on? Just do nothing now, and then maybe
when you're old and you can't get a boner and stuff. Sorry if my family is watching.
And then, later in life, if you decide, oh, actually, I would kind of like to do something now.
Exactly.
Then you can.
And taking a hiatus is so important if you use it to develop a hobby or a passion in something, because and people need people. I believe that people are naturally, that they're beings that need hobbies and they need things to do, whether they're profitable or not. And taking time off is going to enable you to actually develop something and be like, you know what, I really like making dream catchers, or I really like making this. I really like, I actually want to do that more often. I mean, I have Liam, my piano student. He's making a lot of money off of selling guitar picks. He's making guitar picks out of wood, and they're like some of the best. I think they're some of the best guitar picks going, and like good for him, man. Because
I think a really good mental exercise is to imagine that everything in your life is provided to you. Okay, you don't have to pay for your food. You don't have to pay to get through school. You don't need to work. You have no expenses whatsoever.
Yeah.
What drives you now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
What drives you? What is making you get up in the morning? You don't have to, like, we wouldn't have to do anything. We wouldn't have the obligation to do stuff anymore. We would have to find the drive within ourselves. And ask yourself that question. So like if money wasn't an object, an object, if I didn't have to think about making money, what would I do? And do that. Yeah. Do that. That's what I would say. I think that's probably the best advice I could give.
Money was no object, man, and exactly what would you do? And then you wake up and then you suddenly say, well, I've always wanted to do this, this, and this, and I'm like, so do that, You do it, like, I mean, like, it's not as simple as that because you need to eat and pay bills and rent and everything, or mortgage or whatever that is. But like, you can certainly do it. I mean, I make about, I'm on universal credit, and that gives me about 500. That goes on rent and bills, and I've got, I do magic and I do piano lessons, and that's about. So I've got roughly like £50 a week spending money. I know that's not much, but I can still afford the. I can go out a couple of times a week and just buy a tea or a pot of tea and then do that, or I can, or I'll just, once every 2 weeks I'll, maybe get like a breakfast or something from a diner or whatever.
And I don't know why more people don't admire you for that. I'm sorry. I just think that like if you're happy doing that. That should set the bar for people. I want to be that. I want to be happy. I want to be doing things that I enjoy, and I want to have a good quality of life. And that means that I'm enjoying my life, not that I'm making loads of money. Because we aspire to be these people. Like, I don't know, who's a crazy example, like Papa John or something, right? Do you really think that Papa John loves pizza that much that he would, invest millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars into it? No, he fucking doesn't. He does it because it is a massive industry and he made loads of money. And now that industry is gone for him. He lost the company and now he's alone. And now he's got to figure out what he's doing by himself. And that man is probably completely and utterly lost. I think like if you have that going for you at the beginning, if you're like, okay, well, I really enjoy doing this. I'm not just doing this because it's profitable, and it becomes profitable, then you'll have more money to do it. Reinvest it in that thing you're doing. Make more of it. Do more of it.
I mean, the thing is I'm trying to start out. If I didn't have the ability to not get a job, and if benefits didn't exist for me, I wouldn't be able to really consider writing the book, writing music, being a piano teacher, and now starting podcasts, and it's not exclusively a business. Obviously, like, this is going to be for the vast majority free content for people, but if people like the effort I'm putting in and they want to contribute to Patreon or whatever, that's on them, and I'd really I'd encourage that. But I wouldn't be, I wouldn't even have the time to make podcasts if I had the mindset that I needed to make over $1,000 a month in order to be ordinary and fitting person of society, you know. And we don't encourage entrepreneurship in this society. We don't. I don't know why, because even from an economic standpoint, it creates jobs and it creates industry, and not just industry like fucking, you know, that's devastating the planet, but like industry in a creative way, you know. Like I say, people have there's a market for people that want crazy events and crazy, you know, and enjoyable things to do in the summer, in the winter, in the spring, in the autumn. And I do think it's just incompetence. I do think people are just simply like not on the people, but on the social systems.
Okay.
Not on people at all, because they simply don't. Because I don't believe people are incompetent. I believe that, you know, if we were taught in school that, you know, we could get a business grant from starting a business, and you could spend a year or so doing research on the, you know, on the doll or whatever, doing research on what people want, and then investing something into that, into making that happen. And in the long run, everyone's going to benefit way more, even though people had to pay, you know, a bit in tax for people to, you know, in order for someone to live, to have that year off, to think, right, what can I make, you know, what can I add to the economy or whatever. And I'm not saying everything's about money, and of course not. I'm not saying that at all, and I'm not saying the doll is exclusively for people who should start businesses out, because obviously not everyone is that, you know, productive entrepreneurial person or whatever. But it's very important to at least give people the chance, if they are inclined to do that, to just try and see what happens. If you're, you know, if you suddenly realize that you really like socks, and you really like fluffy socks, and you want to make rainbow, you know, you want to sell socks to everyone, and there's a lacking in the market for socks, to, you know, for cool socks, you know, really nice, comfortable, I don't know, but honestly, you wouldn't even have that thought. I mean, I worked at a bar for 3 days a week, like this time last year, and I had no energy to, like, you know, I mean, I suffer from certain mental illnesses, but so I have, you know, so I have to concentrate my energy into things that I like even more than the average person. But I don't think it's just me. You know, Jack definitely. I mean, luckily for him, he seems to have a real drive to do things he likes, even though he works pretty much full time, and I really admire him for that. But the thing is that, like, you know, if you didn't have that time off to even consider that, you know, to become an entrepreneur and create business, you know, create something that people will like.
I see what you're saying now. Yeah, there is a lot of pressure. I mean, my mum, for example, my mum's a good example, because my mum has so many, like, aspirations and things that she wants to do. She wants to do audiobooks. She wants to do her own podcast. She wants to do like art commissions. Like, she does like photography, and she does photos. She's amazing at Photoshop, but she just doesn't have the time to do it all, because she works a full-time job in probation, and she's always traveling all the time because she works all over the place. So, like, I mean, it's harder for some people, but, like, I mean, I guess if you have the time to do that, and you might not have the time to do that in a few years, then spend these years trying to build something.
Yeah.
Don't just waste it, I guess.
I was saying to Rachel in Overcoming Addiction, I was saying that, like, when people think when they're 40, their life's over or whatever, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. You're like, you know, you're not even halfway there, judging by, you know, how fast life expectancy is going up, provided the planet doesn't burn and we don't all catch coronavirus or something worse and die or whatever.
The coronavirus isn't that bad.
Not that bad anyway, but literally, like, you know, people think their lives are over at 40, and it's like, well, no, it's not. Like, you know, you have so much time ahead of you.
Susan Boyle is literally proof that isn't true.
Exactly.
I just want to say that. This is why I love her. This is why I think she's an inspiration, because so many people think that when you hit a certain age, that's it for you, and that's complete and utter fucking bullshit. Yeah. I'm sorry, you're wrong. You are not right about that, because there are plenty of people who think, you know what, screw this. I'm sick of not doing these things that I really like to do because everyone's telling me that it's going to be too hard and that, you know, it's time to be a grown up. Fuck that shit. Make it happen. You can still make it happen at 40.
50, 60, 70.
50, 60, 70. Susan Boyle was like 60 years old. She was like 60 years old, man, when she, you know, and she was just like, I'm gonna apply for the X Factor. Or it might have been Britain's Got Talent. I don't remember. But
I want to clarify that it's not always about making it big either. As long as you enjoy it, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. I mean, you know, if you can work 2 days a week if you have to work part-time at a coffee shop and then spend the other time that you're doing, you know, writing jingles for radios or whatever, I don't know, whatever. Literally, like, my mind goes blank when I think of examples, because literally you could do anything as long as you have that time, then just do that. And that's the real crux. I mean, this is the thing. Yeah.
I mean, like, it is tough, and I mean, I must admit, I do have more time than the average person. I should be going to classes, but I mean, I have time to sit and do this podcast. I mean, we're at like the hour and 25-minute mark, but you know, I have lots of goals. I have lots of things that I want to do, and like I'm learning the piano. I'm doing this podcast. You know, I've got exams and stuff. I want to start doing my own YouTube videos, daily uploads. That's going to be tough, but you know, that it's something that I really want to do. I want to be like on YouTube, and I want to do that for my job. It's taken me, and it took me just doing one podcast. I did one podcast with James on this podcast here. Yeah. One. It took me trying once to come to that conclusion. I only had to try it. That's it. That's all I did. I tried it. And now, you know, I've got this goal, I've got this aspiration, and I want to start doing this. And for once in my life, music isn't my only passion. I've got other things that I want to do too. And, you know, I'm happier than ever as a result. And I think if people spent less time thinking about things and more time trying those things, I'm not saying it's like easy for everyone. I mean, this microphone setup cost me like 150 quid, and like my guitars, I don't even want to get into how much I've spent on, you know, my guitars and all my pedals and my keyboard and whatnot. But like, you know, it's not that limiting. You can go onto the Facebook Marketplace and you can probably find yourself a microphone for like £10 to start doing a podcast with. You don't even need one. That's the thing. You don't even need this. This is just.
I mean, my camera is shite. You know, I mean, it's not a good camera. But you know, now that we've hit the £10 a month mark from just putting up one podcast that was that needs to be viewed by early access, which is what happened. You know, and that now, you know, if I double that, triple that, whatever, I will be able to afford that camera, make the podcast better, etc. But I wanted to say I'm really glad that like that one podcast we did about happiness is like motivated. I'm really happy that we've done that.
I just really enjoyed it, and I love getting feedback from people, and I love like interacting with the people that watched it.
And people watched it. And the thing is that if just trying out that one thing and experimenting on that one thing that took 2 hours to do, you know, to plan and to film, motivated you. Think of all the other things that you could be doing that you don't even know because you haven't tried. I mean, I have a friend that does pottery now, and she loves pottery.
Pottery is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And she loves that now. And like, you know, who knows? Maybe she does. If she doesn't want to work at Tesco anymore, she can get into that, because if she really likes pottery, then just do pottery. I think we are taught at school that we can be anything we want to be, and as we grow up, that sort of fades away, and there are no social systems or, you know, like educational systems put in place on how exactly to go about that. And that's such a shame, and it doesn't make any sense, because it's not even.
I think it's something that they tell children to sort of reinforce the idea that they're having fun, that their education isn't too serious. Do you know what I mean? Because when you're in primary school, they don't really give you that much of an incentive to work. They make it fun so that you want to do it.
Yeah.
But when you get into secondary school, they're like, right, these are your important years, sort of thing. It's like, what is happening? Why am I suddenly being dropped into this wasteland of, education and stress? It's crazy, but like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's what it was like for me. No one told, like, everyone said, oh, you can be whatever you want. You can be whatever you want to be. And then when I got into secondary school, it was like, people probably won't employ you unless you work really, really hard.
The thing is, I actually agree with the primary school model, whatever you want to call it. Like, because education really isn't meant to. It shouldn't be that serious. And I want to make a point that, like, that qualifications don't really, in the real world. My friend Jimmy Blackwell gets by. He did a degree in graphic design. Right.
He's doing well for himself.
He's doing really well. I mean, like he's doing, what he done, and most of his job is just going on Twitter, finding musicians he likes, and inboxing them, DMing them, saying, "Hey, can I do your album art?" And he doesn't say, he doesn't have to say that he's qualified in it. He just shows him examples. It was the process that led him to the process of learning about graphic design that led him to do it, not the prestigious degree at the end. Qualifications don't mean shit, and you shouldn't feel the need to hide behind them as if, like, if you want to do the thing, you don't need a qualification. I know this sounds like, I don't have a qualification in music or making podcasts or writing, but if I can self-publish my book and I can sell 100 copies, that's better than a lot of people who do degree. And I'm not saying that I'm a better writer. I'm just saying that, like, I'm very grateful for having the influences in my life to give me the ability to realize that you can just create an incentive to just be like, right, I don't need a qualification to write a book. I can just write the book, and it might not be perfect, but I'm doing it. And we don't get taught that. We don't get taught that we can do that. We get taught, that we have to, rush into university soon after college, and when you just turned 18, and of course you're not ready for, I think a job is less commitment than a bloody degree, because a job you can leave any time. A degree you're paying $9,000 a year to work, and it lasts 3, 4, 5 years, and it's like, right, that's something you should get into. Don't get into a job to mull over what you want to do as a degree. Get right into a degree.
See, now that you've said that, I feel absolutely insane for my reasoning behind going to uni in the first place, which was the fact that I knew that I wanted to do music all the time, and I knew that I was going to need money to do that, and I knew that I didn't want to do a job that I didn't enjoy. So I thought, okay, I want to move away. I've wanted to move away for a while. And I want to move somewhere where I can do music with lots of other people. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go to university because that seems like the easiest way to do that. And that's why I went to uni. And I don't regret going. I wish I wasn't doing it anymore, because it sort of made me realize that, like, you might get somewhere with what you want to do, or what you might think you want to do, and then realize that it's not quite as glorious as you thought it would be.
No.
And then you might find that you actually want to do some different stuff.
I mean that's the thing, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. I don't think you should put too much pressure on yourself to simply, like, this degree means everything to me. This is the most important part of my life. And as coupled with the idea that 18 to 21 are your golden years, your uni years, is silly, because a lot of people end up suffering mental illnesses, and they have to take on responsibility for themselves, and they realize that there's a big bad world out there that isn't in their family home.
Yeah,
and it's not the golden years at all. It makes people very upset. It made me upset. 18 to 21 was probably the worst years of my life, because
people put too much pressure on their education, and it has a really adverse effect on their mental health, for sure. I mean, like, and it's not even just like education. I feel like in any kind of career-based topic, there's always going to be, that immense amount of pressure to, you know, gather some success from what you do, or someone else telling you that oh, you should keep this going, like they were saying about your magic, or you've really got something here, you really need to shoot for the stars with this. I mean, I got the same thing about with my old band. Like, as much as I poured my heart and soul into it, eventually I just didn't really get much out of it. I just wasn't really enjoying it that much, and I had a lot of people that really wanted me to pursue it because it was it was good or whatever. But I have so much more fun in my post-rock band, and we have never played a single gig. We've been together for 2 years. We've written like maybe an hour's worth of material or whatever, I don't know. And I walk out of that rehearsal space every week with a big fat smile on my face because I'm so happy with what we've created, and I'm not making any money off it. This is like segueing back to a previous topic. Like, I'm having so much fun just playing with these people that some of my best friends, and they're great musicians, and we just have fun and we make music together, and it is there's no pressure. There's like maybe there's like the academic pressure because we have like exams and stuff, but to be honest, I'm not worried about my exams for this band at all because I enjoy doing it. And I think I think that universities put a lot of pressure on musicians to to be the best that they can possibly be. But what's the point in being the best if you're not enjoying it, You might as well just be that guy on the street who knows 4 chords and just sings the songs that he enjoys because that's what makes him happy.
Exactly. And yeah.
Yeah.
Should we stop there?
If you want, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're on an hour and 21 minutes.
What's our conclusion? What's our
I conclude. I mean, I mean, like a lot of things, but namely, money, obviously. But like, if you can spend a couple of days making less money to do something that you enjoy, do it. Don't be a passive consumer. It's not, I mean, don't be a passive consumer if you believe that there's something better, that there could be something better out there. Do it yourself. I mean, particularly to those people who have the ability and the incentive to do it, but they don't have the drive.
And don't feel pressured.
Don't feel pressured either.
Don't feel pressured to do things that you're good at just because other people think you're good at them. If you don't enjoy doing it, stop.
Yeah.
Because I had a good thing going. I had a good thing going with my band, but it didn't make me happy, so I stopped doing it.
I mean, it might make you happy at some point in the future if you don't let it go completely, but like, for the most part, I do completely agree. Like, for the most part,
I love my situation. I'm really happy right now, and
too.
it's because I'm doing things that I like, and I enjoy my life. I have a good time. So and I think that anyone can have that if they just do the things that they enjoy all the time. Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, and it's time for the honourable mention segment now, where we have to thank 4 people now. We got four lovely patrons. So we have to thank Oliver, and his phrase is, "Yeah, I'll drink to that." Maisie, who says 9/11 is an inside job. Karoz hasn't got a phrase, but we have to thank her because she's pledging £3. And last but not least, we have Helga, who who's given me the option for what she has to say. She runs a shop called Feral Child on the Old High Street. Really cool, quirky fashion, clothing, apparel, trinkets, you name it, bracelets, whatever. Really nice place, and she's a lovely person. So
can we put Jimmy Blackwell in the info as well? I think we should.
We'll put Jimmy Blackwell's Twitter in the description because he's a very good graphic designer. Makes really good collage stuff, and he'll do you a good price. So yeah, this has been Long Live Podcasts. I'm James Reardon Waters, and this has been Nate Boddington. Have a blessed day, and take it easy. Take it easy. Long live you. Long live you. See you later.